Hey guys, Mel the Train Shooter here again with another Clump Foliage Terrain Lab experimenty thingy. You know the sort of things we do. Right, this follows on from our previous sort of Terrain Lab experiment on Clump Foliage where we were establishing paint to PVA ratios. Okay, now I'll throw a link up in the corner for that if you want to go check it out. But basically we ran through a various number of ratios and we sort of settled, to carry on with these sort of experiments with a ratio of 1 part PVA to 9 parts paint. So 10% PVA, 90% paint. Now what we did discover is as we were playing with it, it seemed to get a really good coverage, but when we were ripping inside it, and that's not a brilliant bit to show you on, so is there a better bit? I don't think there's going to be a better bit, but we'll rip one just in case. I don't think there's going to be a better bit. Let's try this one. Right. We discovered that our paint wasn't going all the way through. So with regards to our ratio of 1 cup of foam, i.e. 250 millilitres, or the US measurement 1 cup, to our 10 millilitres of paint and PVA mix, covered it, but didn't saturate it. So this is about as far as we can go, I think, with the amount of foam to PVA to our paint mix. But what I want to do is have a look at the actual what will happen if we reduce the amounts of foam. So I've got two different other measurements here. This is 1 full cup or 250 ml. This is half a cup or 125 ml, and this is 1/4 cup or 62 ml. So what we're going to do is mix up our paint in the same ratios as with this batch. Use this as our control, and look how reducing the quantity of foam to the same amount of paint to PVA affects our mix. So I'm going to crack on with that now. So here we have it, guys. We've got a baseline set there at 1 cup to our 10 ml mix. We've got half a cup there to our 10 ml mix, and we've got 1/4 cup there to our to our 10 ml mix. Very quickly, just to run through the experience of actually putting it together. This was quite light and fluffy when I did this. It felt light and fluffy. Whereas this felt actually wetter, if you know what I mean, which obviously makes more sense because there's less foam to soak up the actual our PVA glue mix. Now when I got to this one, this felt actually really sloppy to do, like there was an excess of paint. I mean, it pretty much took all the paint it could, but it did feel like there was an excess of paint in the mix. Okay, so that's initial thoughts. What we're going to do now is just leave them overnight to dry, and then we'll come back in the morning, and we'll have a better look. Okay guys, I'll see you in the morning. Okay guys, it's been about 14 hours and these are all dry now. Okay, very quickly looking at them, there is a very slight darker, so it's graduating darker this way, but it is so slight that you can barely tell. You really can. It's really challenging. Okay, but I can just perceive it. So from that point of view, dropping the quantity of foam to the 10 ml ratio down hasn't really changed the colour. So we still know that we're good with our 10% to 90% paint ratio, pigment wise and colour wise. Now when it comes to how does it feel, well, that does feel firm. Obviously that feels a bit firmer. It's sort of taking less time to spring back, if you know what I mean. And then this one, that's a lot more solid. In fact, that's still wet. Okay, so in this one, I think do you remember when I said it felt like we were going overboard? After 14 hours it still hasn't dried. No, definitely not. Okay, so that's definitely overboard. Now the real question that we wanted to look at was the penetration of the paint, because if you remember, with our 1 cup 250 millilitres sort of a foam, we had issues with the paint penetrating all the way through the foam. So let's have a look at our half cup. I mean that's all the way in. It's still a little wet right on the inside, just a tiny amount, which sort of suggests that it's not OTT, but it's all the way through. So let's have a look at a couple more pieces just to make sure. That's a big one. Yeah, that's all the way through. And this is important because, you know, when you're working with clump foliage, a lot of the times you want to break it up, pick bits off it. And what you don't want to do is be picking bits off, yeah, and getting that. Okay, so it's definitely looking that way, that it's all the way through. So it's looking at the half cut measurements. Oh, very, very incredibly slightly there. Do you see it? Just a hint of yellow. Right, let's have a look at our excessive mixed one. Now, it's green all the way through as you'd expect it, but it is still soggen. Soggen? Soddy? It's still really wet, to be perfectly honest. Okay, let's grab another bit. Let's grab this bit. Yeah. Yeah, this is actually still, it's hardly dried at all. It's just surface dry. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep those and I'm going to come back to them when they're dry, because that sort of soaking might be a benefit to us. Okay, but we won't know that until they're completely dry. But out of the batch of the sort of testing the foam ratios, you know, to our PVA and paint mix, I'm definitely liking the half a cup, the 125 ml of foam. Definitely liking it. Okay. Full cup, it's not enough coverage, to be perfectly honest. You know, I wouldn't be happy tearing this stuff apart, because I'm guessing that, yeah, there's going to be yellow through it. Okay, I mean, if you're going to go just whack it down, then yeah, that'll work. Yeah, but I like manipulating my clump foliage, you know, breaking bits off, finding the right bit. You know, I just don't like slapping it down, and so I like ripping it up, so the coverage is important to me. Yeah, like I say, this may be overkill, but we'll come back and check that out. So guys, that's the what you call it. That's us looking at, you know, the ratios of foam. Next thing I want to do is look at, because I mean we've looked at paint to PVA ratios, we've looked at foam ratios to our paint mix. The last variable we really need to look at is our what you call it, our actual base foams, what we're using, because there's different types. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly move this up, yeah, and we're going to come back with and talk about the different types. So we've got three types of foam here, as I talked about in the first video. Yeah, we've been doing all our experiments so far with this sort of standard foam. Okay, it's cheap, it's very soft, it's cheap upholstery foam, and it gives us this sort of clump foliage when it's blended up. Yeah. Okay, now there's other sorts of foam. Now there is high density upholstery foam. Now you can see how dirty this is. This has been in the shed for donkey's ages, yeah, and that's what it's really supposed to look like. It doesn't matter with this, yeah, it won't actually affect what we're doing, yeah, and you're probably going to be getting it new anyway, but it works perfectly for the experiment. Now this is high density upholstery foam. This is the sort of stuff that you'll find in sofas and all that sort of stuff. You know, if you spend a lot of money on a sofa, you know, this is designed to take a lot of pressure, a lot of sitting on. Okay, which theoretically should give us firmer clump foliage. Yeah, now when it's blended up, it looks a bit like, well, it looks exactly like this. All fluffy. Yeah? Okay, now the final foam we're going to look at is a real cheapo, and this is called composite foam, and it's used a lot in the car industry and stuff like that. Okay, and in office chairs and that sort of stuff. Yeah, it really is the cheap stuff, because it's lots of bits of foam leftovers from other projects, all squished and glued together. But I was really interested about this. I mean, you can buy this, you know, from places like Dunelm or upholstery shops, you know, those sort of places. The thing about this stuff is, because it was lots of little clumps, I was curious to wonder whether it would make better clump foliage, you know, better structure-wise. So after throwing it in the blender, it came out like this. A lot finer than the others. Yeah, it blended up really well. But to me, that has a much nicer sort of look to it. Yeah, look to it. Than the other stuff. But we won't know till we get it mixed up. Now what we're going to do is, off the back of our previous two experiments, we're going to be using our 10% to 90% paint. Yeah, so 10% PVA, so 1 ml of PVA, 9 mils of paint. On top of that, yeah, we're going to be using our 250 milliliter cup, our half cup, which we established, the middle one. Yeah, now to save time, yeah, I'm not going to redo these because they've already been done. as part of this experiment that we did. So I'm going to save these, clear the other two off, and then we'll look at the composite and we'll look at the high density, and when they're all dry we'll come back. Now this is fully dry, so it should be okay. Actually, realistically, I should do them all at the same time to give them the same drying time. We'll do them all then. Right, we'll come back in a minute once we've got them all mixed up and all ready to go, yeah? See you in a mo. So they're all mixed up now, okay? And a couple of quick observations before we sort of look at them once they're dry, okay? First off, colour, yeah? Now, there's a light source directly to my right, to your right, okay? But to my eyes and from everything I can see, these are all bang on the same colour. Okay, so the different density of foam, yeah, and the, you know, the composite material hasn't affected actually the colour of the foam. Yeah, so we still know that 1 to 9 ratio is colour fixed, so to speak. Also, with the composite foam, yeah, now this is a lot firmer than this, surprisingly. Okay, I think it's the amount of glue that's already in it to glue the bits together. Yeah, but that was really hard to mix in and get really deep through. Now, I'm suspecting that when we tear a few of these clumps, yeah, there'll be composite material showing through. The paint won't have carried all the way through, but we'll see when they're dry. This went exactly as I expected, and this was a lot easier to mix than I expected, to be perfectly honest. But you know what we really want, yeah, you know what I mean. What we want to see, yeah, is what they're like when they're dry, eh? So we'll come back once these dry. Right, see you in a little while, guys. Hey guys, it's the morning, it's a glorious day and these are all dry now. Now, as we expected, you know, the different foams has given us a different feel. So, this is pretty much the softest. Yeah, then this goes up and this is reasonably firm. And then this composite stuff is what you call it really firm. Okay, I really like that. Now, with regards to has it travelled through, well, let's have a look. Yeah, that looks good. That's a nice big bit there. Yeah. So that new quantity, which was half a cup, 125 millilitres per 10 ml solution, yeah, we're getting good soakage coverage. Okay, on that high density foam, yeah, I don't think we've got a problem. So that's worked out well for us. So we've eliminated that yellow foam in the middle. Let's just quickly check these. I don't think we're going to have a problem with these, to be truthful. Oh, well, there you go. Now that's interesting. I'm guessing, because that's quite stark. Let's have a look at another bit. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Right, so obviously our solution hasn't carried through with this, so we may have to consider reducing the amount of foam. I simply think it's because this stuff is so dense. We could water it down a little to help it carry. Now, a few people have mentioned in the previous video, you know, water it down with water. I don't want to water it down with water because I need the gloopiness, yeah, to help it bond and to get that clump foliage look. But I do know that we can up, yeah, the amount of PVA up to about 50% in our mix before we start having problems. If you go beyond 50%, what you start to get is like when you rip it apart, you get like plastic tears, like where you're tearing PVA. So I do know that we could throw a bit more PVA in the paint. It will be slightly lighter because we know a bit more PVA will knock off the pigment colour, the pigment ratio, but it might carry through. So a few more experiments with that, to be perfectly honest. Right, when it comes down to looks, okay, forget these. Yeah, the difference between this is actually called chip foam, okay? I checked up on eBay about it last night, finding some prices. I'm using mainly scraps, to be perfectly honest. Okay, so, and after seeing how this came out, I'm really interested in just picking up a couple of big sheets of this. So yeah, this is called chip upholstery foam if you're looking for it. But if I bring this up to the camera, yeah, look at that. Okay, compared to, let me just grab the height, that. Yeah, it's just so much more realistic, guys. It really is. I really like that. So with that in mind, I'm using scraps at the minute, but I'm pretty much just going to throw all this lot away and stick with the composite. Now, like I say, I am going to have to, do I need to solve the what you call it? The soaking all the way through when it's like this? I probably will, to be perfectly honest, just to be sure, so I can make sure that if I do want to break bits off, yeah, I'm not hitting problems. Perhaps it's only the bigger bits. Yeah, the real tougher bits. That's interesting. So anyway, off the back of the foam comparison experiment, yeah, chip foam, composite foam is definitely the way to go. It looks so much better. But like I say, I reckon we're going to have to slightly up the PVA content, yeah, to get it a little bit thinner, to get it flushing through. Okay, now we also mentioned very quickly that we'd look at that other one that we did in the first experiment with the quantities of paint. Okay, and this was the one that I said felt really oversaturated and wasn't dry. Okay, it's the look has dried exactly, yeah, as, you know, the others, to be perfectly honest. So the excess of paint hasn't changed its overall appearance. It is denser. I mean, this is soft foam, so this is a lot denser than, you know, this is, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, but I don't think there's anything to gain. It's soaked all the way through, but it did at the other ratio anyway, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, so just with regards to a quarter a cup to 10 mil, don't really bother. Yeah, so there we have it, guys. That's our run through of our little experiments. Now I'm going to tweak this, but the thing is, because we've done experiments on the paint and PVA ratio, which was the first video, yeah, and then because we've done experiments on the quantity of that solution to the amount of foam and how that affects it, and then we've done this experiment on the different types of foam, we've covered the three main variables involved in making clump foliage. So from this, I can take this information, yeah, and come up with a, you know, a reasonably good tutorial, troubleshoot, that sort of stuff, you know, which is a bit more concise and shows you everything. But more importantly, you should be equipped to be able to sort of look at your local materials, have a little bit of a play, and be able to sort of troubleshoot any problems, refine the process to get in a what you call it, sort of a mix that you like. Now, a few people have also mentioned, you know, finer stuff, etc. Yeah, it's exactly the same, you just blend it more. Okay, but I'll be covering that in the tutorial coming up. So there you have it, guys. That was our little bit of a jolly on our terrain lab clump foliage experiment. I'm really pleased I've taken the time to do that, and I really hope that you found it useful, guys. As always, like it if you like it, share it if you know someone who finds this useful. Any questions, any tips, anything you'd like me to explore in other terrain labs, any other little clump foliage experiments you'd like me to do, yeah, throw them in the comments, guys. You know, I always answer my comments. And finally, you know, if you really do like what I do, guys, and you want to help me out, yeah, consider tipping me $1 a month on Patreon. Of course, there's no pressure to do that because, you know, I'm going to carry on doing this whether you do or you don't. Okay, guys, so listen, you have a cracking week. I'll probably see you at the weekend. Yeah, I'm not sure if there'll be a video or I'll catch you on my live show. But in the meantime, enjoy the sun and I'll see you soon. All the best, yeah? Ta-ra.